June 1542. A leaking brigantine drifts down the largest river on earth. The men aboard are Spanish, starving, and hopelessly lost. One of them, a friar named Gaspar de Carvajal, is keeping a diary, and what he writes down should be impossible. Villages, he says, that ran on for leagues without a gap between them. Wide, clean roads leading away from the water into the trees. Towns that could put 1,000 warriors on the river in a single afternoon. For 4.5 centuries, that page was treated as a lie. The Amazon was a green desert, beautiful, endless, and empty. Everyone knew that. Then, this summer, a laser looked underneath the trees and found the outline of a world, thousands of monuments, a society that may have counted in the millions. So, 3 questions. Who was the friar actually writing about? Why were the first people to find their monuments driving bulldozers, not holding trowels? And why does one detail, hiding in the carbon dates, break the story everyone tells about what destroyed this world? Because whatever it wasn't us. Start with what everyone agreed on, because the doubt was never stupid. Amazon soil is famously poor. The rain strips its nutrients. Farms carved from the forest fail within a few seasons. No stone to quarry, no pack animals, no plough. In 1971, the archaeologist Betty Meggers gave the doctrine its name, a counterfeit paradise, a jungle that looks like Eden and can feed almost no one. Small bands, moving villages, nothing more, ever, and the records seem to agree. A century after Carvajal, expeditions retracing the river found the glittering provinces gone. Later explorers found forest, and then more forest. In 1925, a British colonel named Percy Fawcett marched into Mato Grosso, convinced a lost city he called Zed was waiting under the canopy. He took his eldest son with him. They walked into the trees, and were never seen again. The lesson seemed settled. Believe the friar, and the forest kills you. Then, in the 1970s, in the Brazilian state of Acre, men arrived to knock the forest down for cattle, and beneath the trees, cut into the ground itself, was geometry. Perfect squares, circles inside circles, octagons, dead straight avenues, ditched on both sides, joining them together. A scientist named Altiu Ranzi spotted the first ones through the window of a passenger plane. Trenches up to 5 meters deep, enclosures covering 50 hectares, drawn by hand into the earth. Archaeologists counted as the pasture spread, 100, 500, 1,700, but nearly everyone stood in cleared land, which raised an uncomfortable question. What was still hiding under the canopy? This July, a team led by Marty Persinen answered it with light. An aircraft flew 10 dead straight lines above the forests of Acre and Amazonas, pulsing lasers through gaps in the leaves. Narrow survey strips covering barely 2.5% of the study region. In those slivers alone, the laser found 432 earthworks. 396 of them no one had ever recorded. Now, you may have read that 30,000 monuments were just discovered. They were not. 432 were seen. The 30,000 is statistics. Stretch those strip counts across the whole territory, and the models predict somewhere between 24 and 30,000 are waiting out there. The seen part is certain. The stretched part is a bet. Remember that. It matters later. And the builders left more than monuments. Across the basin, the soil itself carries fingerprints. Terra preta, the dark earth. made by people, charcoal and broken pottery folded through it, still outgrowing everything around it after 1,000 years. Even the trees testify. The species ancient farmers prized, Brazil nut, cacao, acai, still dominate the forest that grew back over their fields. So the river Carvajal drifted down was not a wilderness with a few huts in it. His glittering towns stood on the riverbanks, a different province from these earthworks, but the same crowded world. The friar was owed an apology, but the apology raises a harder question. If they were there, where did everybody go? The answer historians give is as brutal as it is invisible. When Europeans touched the shores of the Americas, their diseases went ahead of them. Smallpox, measles, influenza, sicknesses that travelled village to village along trade routes, faster than any explorer, killing people who would never see a European face. The geographer William Denevan called the empty Amazon the pristine myth. By the time science arrived to study the forest, it was walking through a graveyard already a century old. The estimates are staggering. In some regions, 9 people in 10, gone within a few generations. And this explains everything so cleanly. It explains why later expeditions found the provinces thinned and scattering. It explains why the forest looked untouched. It had simply grown back over the orchards and the plazas, in the silence after the crowds. The Amazon wasn't empty, it was emptied. If the story ended there, it would be a tragedy with a tidy cause. But it doesn't end there, because the ditches of Acre have been dated, and the dates refuse to cooperate. 162 radiocarbon dates, from 32 sites. They say construction began about 2,500 years ago. They say building boomed while Rome still ruled the Mediterranean. At the peak, a new monument rising every few weeks. And they say the building stopped, everywhere, around the year 850, 6 centuries before any European sail crossed the Atlantic. Smallpox cannot explain that. Whatever ended the age of the geoglyphs happened while Europe was deep in its own dark ages, and no one knows what it was. A drought? A war? A belief that simply moved on? The studies report no single smoking gun, and the land did not stay empty. Centuries later, new people were building mound villages over the same ground. The crowded world Carvajal saw was itself a successor, standing on someone else's ruins, and here the skeptics deserve their full say. That figure, 1.25 to 3 million people, rests on an assumption: roughly 300 people for every earthwork. The paper's own alternative model uses 60, and the millions shrink 5-fold. Researchers like Crystal McMichael and Mark Bush warn that our samples cluster where access is easy, and that nearly half the laser's view was blocked by canopy. Maybe a civilization of millions is partly a mirage of arithmetic. And yet, every time anyone points a laser at this basin, more of it appears. Bolivia's mound cities, Ecuador's garden towns, the ringed villages of the Xingu, the monuments are not a model, they are simply there. So, weigh it. What's known? For roughly 14 centuries, people engineered this forest. Ditches, causeways, dark earth, and part of the Amazon is their garden, still growing without them. What's uncertain? How many of them there were? 3 million is an assumption multiplied, but even the cautious arithmetic leaves hundreds of thousands. And what's open, genuinely open, is why it ended. Not the second vanishing, the one Europe caused and history the first one. Around the year 850, the ditch diggers of Acre put down their tools, and we do not know why. No conqueror, no chronicler, just a forest quietly closing over the answer. And a laser, 11 centuries later, finding the question again. Perhaps that is the strangest part. We called this place wilderness, precisely because its makers were gone. The emptiest looking places on Earth may simply be the ones that lost their people longest ago. So, was the Amazon ever a wilderness at all? Or is it a garden that outlived its gardeners? What do you think? And that is where I will leave it. And if there is a mystery you would love to see untangled, tell me. Until the next one.